help us understand the benefits of God's law. David said God's law revives us, makes us wise, gives joy to our hearts, gives light to the eyes, warns us, and rewards us. That's because the lines on our highways, God's laws guide us through life. Consider God's law of giving and generosity. This law, which is covered in today's lesson, will strengthen our relationship with God as we learn how to respond to the material needs of others.
Okay, we're gonna go to the first outline, which is an open hand and heart. Um, Does someone want to read that or? Want me to- It don't matter, whatever one you want.
There will, however, be no one in need among you. This is the New Revised. Because the Lord is sure to bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a possession to occupy. If only you will obey the Lord your God by diligently observing this entire commandment that I will command you today. When the Lord your God has blessed you, as he promised you, you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow. You will rule over many nations, but they will not rule over you. If there is among you anyone in need, a member of your community in any of your towns within the land that the Lord your God has given you, do not be hard hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your needy neighbor. You should rather open your hands willingly, leading, lending enough to meet their needs, whatever, whatever it may be. Since there will never cease to be some in need on the earth, I therefore command you, open your hand to the poor and needy neighbor in your land.
Okay, this is this is basically talking about that. It says, "There will, however, be no one in need among you, because the Lord is sure to bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a possession to occupy. If only you will obey the Lord your God, be diligently observe this entire commandment that I command you today." So what it's talking about that that with the land that God is giving them, and when He give it to them, and it want them to have an open heart and open their heart and their hand. That means that you're always willingly to give to others. You know, whatever God is giving you as a possession to occupy. You know, you got to always have a giving heart, and you got to have give it willingly. You know, not just give it to them because you think it's right. You got to give it willingly with an open heart. That means that you got to have the love of God within you when you are giving what you are giving. You know, so it just letting us know that we got to always have our heart, our hands not tightly closed to the point that you don't want to give nothing to nobody. You know, because somebody, you might see somebody in need or something. You know, and then as you give them with the open, right? It said your hand is always open to someone. That because you want to give gently to someone, you know, that you don't have be thinking about just doing it. You have to do it with the heart of God, with a loving heart. Not give it just because somebody can see you do it. Just give it because this is something that you're doing from your heart that God has provided for you to do these things for the poor. Just like if they need something, you see there's somebody in need of something, you give it with an open heart. Uh, does anyone else want to elaborate, talk or say anything on that, or no? Yes. Okay. Okay. We're gonna go to the second um, outline, which is the motive, blessing and obedience. Can someone read that? Um,
Be careful that you do not entertain a mean thought, thinking, the seventh year, the year of remission, is near, and therefore view your needy neighbor with hostility and give nothing. Your neighbor might cry to the Lord against you, and you would incur guilt. Give liberally and be ungrudging when you do so. For on this account the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all that you do undertake.
okay, I'm gonna. Okay. So this is really talking about. Um, it said, "Be careful that you do not entertain a mean thought, thinking the seventh year, the seven are remission in years, and therefore view a needed neighbor with hostility, and give nothing. Your neighbor might cry to the Lord against you, and you would incur guilt." So, um, back in those days, like they have, and it's the 7 years. After 7 years, your debt is forgiven. You know, so they don't owe that debt no more. So that like it's like said right here, be careful that you do not entertain the meanest thought of thinking the 7 year and a year of remission is near. So that people, like they, um, let me read this right here. Then I can. It's like giving is re recircle in nature and that God reward those who heart and action align with his general nature. The real test of our commitment to this principle will be when someone who is in great need, asks for help. Their plea could be at the 11th hour. When a person was in danger of losing a home, for example, our heart should land us to give without question. We should not decide to give based on whether we will be repaid. Given only when we are guaranteed we will be repaid is not aligned with God character. We are merely stewards of God's resource, and all belongs to Him. Our sense of human our ownership is made worse when we have resources cheer for but are more composed. To adopt this kind of thinking, we should think of our help as a gift, This allows believers to meet the needs of others and be free of goodness, of godness consideration. This raised this raised another thought related to helping others. Moses said that if you choose not to give when God has blessed you with the means to give, you are greedy to the heart of God. A merely spiritual is not becoming in the Christian who claims to be service of God. Our should float aligns us with God's character and open the door to his blessing in every area of our life. So it's really talking about how we have always be able, when God bless us, and he bless us in a way that we can help others, but then we don't bother to be greedy with it because he helping us, and then we want more instead of helping someone else that in need. He wanted to do it with an open heart, to bless somebody else, that you know that they need it. He wants us to be, you know, good stewards, have an open hand, an open heart, you know, and just like the one lesson we had about the act of love. We have to have a loving heart, and a forgiving heart, but that's why God tell us to. He has said that bless with our heart and our mind and our soul and our body and strength. So that's why we ask God we give it all to Him. And when we gave Him all of our body, our mind, our soul, and our strength, and then He will revive us with what we need, because His love is going to be on the inside of you. You will have a loving heart, and that loving heart gonna provide you to be able to help someone else. And then, like in these days and time, you need that spirit of God because, to help someone, you have to know who they are, and then when you know who they are, you will be able to see them spiritually with the eyes of God, and He will lead you to the right person. You can't just go up to anybody and give them something. They might pull a gun out on you, do something crazy to you. But if you know you do it through the Spirit of God, then you know that person's gonna accept it, with a loving heart. Um, and also the motive blessing and obedience as example. Your motive to make sure you're not showing off when you are doing your good deed. Our motive matter because God cares more about who we are becoming than what we are achieving. Our motive determines that we do who we are and who we will become. Every person in every generation since the beginning of humanity, his experience moment where their motive are put to the test. So basically, we have to always be careful about how we do things. We got to know that what we are doing and how to do it. And the way that we have to do that, we have to have the love of God. Okay, we're going to do um, outlines 3. The identification given to Jesus. Um,
Matthew 25, 42 through 45. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. When they also will answer, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you? Then he will answer them, truly, I tell you, just as you did not do it for one of the least of these, you did not do it to me.
Okay. So it talks about how it said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and yet took not in, naked, and you clothed me not." So what it's saying is that if you would see someone and they're in need, or they're hungry, and you ignore that person, and 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 they're thirsty, and they want something to drink, or even they don't have no clothes. So what it really is saying is that if you see someone in need, if they hungry, you feed them. And and sometimes, we will see someone and they in need or something, and we ignore that. We don't even pay it no attention, you know, and because sometimes God puts things on our heart to do things for some people, and then because of the way the world is, we say, I'm not going to do that you know, because that's why we need the spirit and the love of God on inside. So we know if that is a person that we supposed to be able to go again, because we can be able to have that exerting spirit, because that we know that that's a child that God wants us to help, that to have our heart open. That's why it said you had to have your heart and your mind open at all times. Just like when when we go back in the lesson when it said about the physical and spiritual, the spiritual fitness. You know how our mind has to be physical, mentally fit to be able to attain the spirit of God. We got to have that mind of giving. That open hand, that open heart, that love that God had given us. That we have to be able to provide that. That we have to be able to provide that act of God love, that love that pass all understanding, the unconditional love. Because if we have that, our mind is physical fit. Our mind is physical and mentally. Our mind has to be mentally, physically fit to be able to attain the spirit of God. Because if we don't prepare ourselves with the word of God, and so that we can be able to physical and mentally have our mind ready for that, then we won't be able to be ready to what God have for us to do. You know, like I said, the identification given to Jesus. It's just like our identity. That's how we attain our identity and know who we are. You know, and 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 when you have the spirit of God on the inside, you and people will be able to, the child of God will be able to see who you are. But the ones that is not, they in darkness, they won't be able to see who you are. But God will provide you with that spiritual needs, so you could be able to, so they can see who you be able to show his love to them. And they'll know that that's something different about you. And they'll see the different in you and then what they see in others. You know, they probably don't know what it is that's different, but they know it's loving, it's kindness, and the gentleness. They'll know that it's something about that person. They're different than the rest one. You will stand out to someone else. You know, that's why we have to have a mind that is of God. You know, and also like we have to have the love of God, because that love is something that you are going to show with action, emotion. It's something that you feel in your heart. That's why we got to give God in all our all our we got in the love him with our heart, mind, soul, and with all our strength. And when we think about the physical and the spiritual fitness of our body in the mind, so we got to be having a loving heart and an open hand. Our hand, what I mean by hand, what I mean by having open hands, that means you always by giving. It's about giving generally, you know, and we got to always be able to give. If we sometimes you might sometimes it's not about money, you know. Sometimes it's just about the way you present yourself, how you show the love of God. Sometimes you might not have no money to be able to give somebody. You might have maybe you might have three coats and you give somebody one a coat. You say, okay, they ain't need a coat. I'm gonna give them a coat. They ain't need a shoe. They ain't need some food. You might have something extra in your house you can give them. You know, sometimes it God will provide you back with what you had gave to them with more than what you had. Because you got a heart of God love and a heart of giving, then it always be giving back to you. So, do anyone have anything to elaborate on that? Yes, no, no. No, yes.
Yeah, a little bit on the last outline that like they were saying about our thoughts, our motives, about our motives when we bless and obey God. Many people, I learned that I give, I don't look for it back, if you have it, you have it, not. But if your motive is now, if I see, otherwise, in a way you want to trust, not trust God, but trust others. Sometimes the motive is, we look at in our thoughts now, they doing all this, they ain't paying me back.
Mm-hmm.
Our motive shouldn't be that way. Go back in the Old Testament, that's how it was. Back in the Old Testament, 7 years, even they ain't been paid whatever old, they ain't got it supposed to be wiped away.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why Moses was saying that you can't have that type of thoughts. That, how we have evil thought now, they ain't gonna pay me back. Sometimes we might want to do something to them, because they are not, paying.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, we have evil thoughts about somebody not paying back. So best when you give, don't worry about it. God gonna take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he gave it to us to give at that moment. And then sometimes we might fall in a predicament and we'll have an evil thought if they would have gave that back to me, then I wouldn't be here. But everything is a purpose in our life.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to look at things as a purpose and not put evil motives in place, of what you done did. You're supposed to be doing that for the right reason of
Mm-hmm.
God. This is the way I'm supposed to help my neighbor. I'm supposed to do this. And that is what we got to learn how to remember, when we give, and no more, you shouldn't even bother about it. They say thank you or whatever. This is all because of God.
Cause I think at one time didn't they used to have it like that here? Like it's after 7 years, you have some of your credit thing. They erase it. They
Well,
used to. They used to have it. They don't have it
yeah,
now.
you have, they got it now that
You just
even
go
though it
on and
came
on.
from that, but the law, they got it now. You go bankrupt, you know, then after 7 years, you know, your it's on your credit, but you clear from the debt.
Mm-hmm.
But they got it in a way you bound, you won't be able to get nobody else won't lend you, but it shouldn't be that way if it's God. But nobody will not lend to you until a certain amount of years.
Oh.
So that's how they got it now, 7 years.
Yeah. See.
You want to clear the whole thing, but they got it now. You want to clear parts of it in 3 years, all that kind of stuff. But all of that really came from this, but they just put how
Fix
the
the way
law,
they want it.
the law always changes how
Mm-hmm.
they want to do things.
Yeah.
Because the law is took from Mosaic law, you know, all the whole law is taken from it. But I know there's some people I have talked to that are like police or whatever. They had to learn all of that as well when
Mm.
they lost in school. As that. So this is what goes on now, how they got it. It ain't as a free thing as God. Now like a Moses there that therefore you can get rid of your debt, but you're going to be bound for so many days so you won't be able to get no other. But one thing about it, God opened doors. I learned that whether man want it or not, God going to do his part if you get it on the right basis. Everything.
Amen.
I just want to read this. It said, the next time you encounter someone in need, whether a homeless person, a struggling family, or a lonely neighbor, make a conscious effort to see the face of Christ in them and be the face of Christ to them. Move beyond feeling pity and be intentional about meeting their needs. But nowadays, we see somebody that, um, we want to talk about it. Lord, you see them over there? They always begging. But these people was in need, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just like you said, the motive, we have the wrong motive. If we gonna go tell everybody, talk about it, if you
Mm-hmm.
happen to somebody, you don't need to tell nobody.
That's right.
Mm-mm.
You don't need to
You
tell
don't.
nobody.
Mm-mm. That's the wrong way to go to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do anybody else got?
This is a wonderful lesson.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna read the remember it. Generosity is defined as a state of being generous in kind. It's a standard of exempt that as as sexton I can't even say it, that every human being should strive to reach. We should remember that there are three kinds of giving. First, those who do not have generosity as a goal. They live separately without understanding that at some point they too will have a need of some sort. Next are those who give ha ha huh okay what she said. Their generosity is depend on how they feel. They give when it pleases them or when it benefits them in some way. Finally, there are those who give with a heart like Jesus. They give lovingly without seeking anything in return. They give even if it hurts. What kind of giving are you? I'm going to read the chariot. When you meet people who don't know Jesus, help them fulfill their greatest need. Share the gospel with them and lead them to accept Christ as Lord and Savior. If they have a tangible need, help them to feel it as you share God's plan of salvation with them. Okay, now, if anyone else don't have nothing to say, I turn it over to Superintendent. I gotta get up.
All right, so let's thank Minister Annie Pearl for that wonderful lesson. And I know this lesson is speaking about giving, but in all honesty, this lesson is about the heart, the matters of the heart. Because if your heart ain't in it, then it's really pointless, right? You know, I remember, like, I know with my family back in the days, like, when they would give to another family member, they would do it in private. They didn't want nobody else knowing. You know what I'm saying? They would, like, my dad would, you know, if he was giving money to my uncle or something like that, he would do it. It would just be him and my uncle, you know what I'm saying? And he would give it to him, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they had to. I don't, you know, I was a kid, so I don't know if they had arrangements to give it back or whatever. I don't know about that, but I knew that they would do something like that in private. And you know, a lot of people these days they want to make sure people see them doing that. You know what I'm saying? And that symbolizes and that shows that your heart is not in the right place. You know what I'm saying? Because you're doing it just to get praise from people. You know what I'm saying? And man can't reward you. The reward comes from God. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where I heard this from. I think Denzel Washington said this. He said, "Man gives the award, but God gives the reward." If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Man gives you medals and plaques and stuff like that, but God gives you the true reward. You know what I'm saying? In heaven. And we have to remember that when we give, and I know I'm always going back to what Dad said, that if you're going to give something, you shouldn't be expecting something back. You shouldn't be expecting to get that back. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, if you don't have it to give and you need it back, then why even give? You know what I'm saying? Don't give it if you gonna want it back. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something that he said that stuck with me. Like if you know if you gonna give to somebody, don't expect it back. You know, and contrary to what the world will have us to believe, we should not expect anything back. The world will have you, oh, if you give something, you got to get what you are owed. Like when you take out loans, you got to pay them loans back, right? When you get something from government, you pretty much got to pay it back. You know what I'm saying? And look, but what's the deficit for the American country? I think it's like $47 trillion or something like that they owe to other countries. I mean, if you think about it, they ain't gonna never get that money. That's gonna be a debt that the United States is gonna owe to the end of time. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the American people, they make sure they get their money back though, right? Like when we get something, they gotta make sure they get their money back, and that's really not the way of God. It's all God is a generous God. He gives when we're needed, when we need something. God gives freely. He gives his grace and his mercy freely. You know what I'm saying? And the world will have you believe that, oh, you can't, ain't nothing for free. You know what I'm saying? They feed us that, hey, you got yours, you gotta, I got mine, you gotta get yours type mentality. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard somebody say that? I went out and got mine, you gotta go out and get yours. It shouldn't be like that. And it brings me to think about it. It said, how would our world be different if those who had more material resources than they would ever need would commit to ensuring that no one was ever in need? So if all the rich people, those millionaires, billionaires, would make sure that people in need had what they needed, how would this world be? Well, I can tell you, it would be a lot less crime in this world. I can almost guarantee it'll be a lot less crime because a lot of people do stuff because they're in need. Because they feel like there's no other way to get it but to go out and take it. You know what I'm saying? But if it was given to them freely, there wouldn't be no need for it. Like, would you rob somebody if you had money? Would you steal from somebody if your bills is paid? Would you steal? If you had a car, would you go out and steal another car for what? You know what I'm saying? So if everybody made sure God made sure there's enough for everybody. But there are some people out there who are just so greedy that they want everything. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. It is so sad. We got people that's so greedy they won't even give up a prayer. They won't even pray for someone because I ain't praying for them. You know what I'm saying? It's sadly, but that's true. Then you talk about our president. There's people out there, I ain't praying for him. You know what I'm saying? Christian people say, I ain't praying for him. You know what I'm saying? But God says you got to pray for your enemies just like you pray for your family and your friends. You know what I'm saying? You pray for your enemies, because you don't know what's going on up there in the mind. You don't know what kind of spirit has a hold of them that's making them act like that. You don't know. That's why we have to pray for people. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that a lot of people won't even pray for their enemies. You have to. You know what I'm saying? So, like Minister Annie Pearl said, it ain't all about money. It ain't always about money. Sometimes you got to offer a prayer. Sometimes you got to offer time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people just want to be heard. They just want somebody to listen to them. My wife had to tell me that this week. Like sometimes some people just want someone to listen to them. They don't always need you to say something. They just want somebody to listen. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes time is all we can offer. You know what I'm saying? It ain't always money we got to give. Sometimes Sometimes all we can give is a hug. Somebody might be sad and down. All we can do is give them a hug and pray for them. You know what I'm saying? All that is a matter of the heart. You just want to help. You know what I'm saying? That's why the word says you have to be open hearted. You know what I'm saying? Greet people with an open hand. You know what I'm saying? Not with a closed fist. Because if you got that open hand, that means they can get it. You know what I'm saying? They can receive from you. But if you got a closed fist, they can't get nothing from you. That means if your hand is closed, that means your heart is closed. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to give nothing to nobody. And that's not the way of God. How can you be unwilling to give to someone else but want to go to God and get something from God? Right? What if God showed you the same energy that you showed the people? Right? How would you feel then? Right? So you should, that's why God say treat your brother, love your neighbor as yourself. You know, because if it was you, you would want somebody to give to you. You know what I'm saying? And it don't say, give your last, you know, um, give something you don't have. You ain't gotta go bankrupt trying to, give, but you should at least try. You know what I'm saying? You give what you can give, you know what I'm saying? And you give it with a heart to give. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. God has blessed me to always wanting to help people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just talking about myself really. Like when I was a kid, I had friends who didn't have, like my mom, I was only child. So my mom went over and beyond to make sure I had, clothes and shoes and stuff like that. And I had friends who didn't. Their mom, they had 3 kids. They wasn't able to get the stuff that I had. And I was, even though I was bigger than them, like size wise, I was still like, you want shirt, pants, stuff like that. We ain't wear the same shoe size, but you know what I'm saying? I would willingly give to them, you know what I'm saying? And my mom found out that I was doing that. And she went off on me. Like, literally, I'm paying all this money for you to give your clothes away to these people. And you know what I'm saying? But that was back before my mom, you know what I'm saying? Before she got, you know what I'm saying? Before she knew the Lord, you know what I'm saying? That's how she was, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I guess I'm saying that because, I try to instill that into my kids also, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you got it, look out for people. And I'm still kind of like that now. You know what I'm saying? If I got it, I see somebody need something, I, still give it. Look, yeah, I still give it. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until recently I realized why I was always like that. It's because the God in me always, made me want to help people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this lesson is all about. It's about where your heart is. You know what I'm saying? If you got a cold heart, then Lord help you. Lord be with you. So that's why we have to follow Jesus' example. Jesus helped people willingly. You know what I'm saying? Jesus would never leave anyone in need. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was wisdom that they needed, the Lord made sure they got what they needed. You know what I'm saying? The Lord helped anybody who needed help. You know what I'm saying? Even I think about the woman with the issue of blood. You know what I'm saying? And she went and she touched his garment. She didn't ask, she went and touched it, but the Lord was so gracious that, hey, you know what I'm saying? He still helped her. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? Just think about if that was you. And you have been fighting this issue for 12, what it was, 12 years, right? She was fighting this issue for 12 years. Do you think would you have time to ask or would you just go and get it? You know you can get help from Jesus. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but God is good. It all comes down to God is good. That He makes sure we get what we need. And it made me think while Minister Pearl was up here, you know what I'm saying? Think about rich people. They have all they need, everything they need, everything money could buy, but it's only always one thing that gets them in the end. What is it? Their health. A lot of, if you notice, a lot of rich people, they always get sick they always need something money can't buy. You know what I'm saying? Money can't buy you good health. You know what I'm saying? They can buy you all the doctors and medicines in the world, but in the end, only God can help you. Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes back to like I said, a lot of those people have that mentality. Hey, I went and got mine. You got to get yours, type deal. So,
People always want to talk about you when you need something.
oh yeah,
They just want to talk about you. Like you said, I got mine. Why can't you go get yours? I said, if you nothing, you able body, go get it. But it's not all about that. You know what I mean?
right.
It's got to come from here, like you said, from the heart.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And and a lot of people fail to realize that God might have put you in that position to bless someone else. You know what I'm saying? God puts us in positions to help people. Now, whether we follow through with it or not is a matter that we have to deal with ourselves, right? But God usually puts us in position to help someone, right? All right, so that's gonna kind of conclude our Sunday school lesson for today. We want to thank Minister Annie Pearl again for teaching our class. Um, Aunt Gina, do your class have something? All right, so we're gonna have the little ones come up.
Hello, everybody. In the front. Line up. Front and center. Line up. Good morning, everybody. Today,
Down this way a little bit. So we can
scoot over.
Marcus,
Marcus.
you sick, because you in the way of the camera. You come over here, then they won't see you over here. Okay, look at Marcus.
What's the title of the story today?
Speak up. You got it, Ela.
Everybody needs somebody.
All right, good. You got it.
Yeah, and what did Jesus talk? And what did Jesus use the story to explain in the story today? He told the story about the king and what was he using the king to tell the story.
It was about the thirsty and the hungry.
It was about the thirsty and the hungry. And what do you do when somebody who's thirsty needs some water?
Give them something to drink.
Give it to Kaylin.
Give it to Kaylin. And what do you do when somebody is hungry?
You give them food.
Pass it down to Kendall.
get the medicine.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about you though. You get them some food. Get the Tito's.
If someone needs your help, do you help them?
Yes,
What you doing to help?
What do you
I
do to
gotta
help?
get him food.
You gonna give them some food. Good
Okay.
job.
When we do things to help people, what does God
We
do
do
to us?
things to people we are.
Okay, give it to Eli.
To Eli Tobias. When we do things for other people, what does God do for us?
He does the same thing back.
Good job.
Okay.
So, Kendall,
Kendall.
what is sharing? Sharing is, who remembers, sharing is what?
Carried.
She got it. All right. Because she be doing her own thing in here. But you got that, girl. Sharing is caring. So remember, who are we going to be kind to? No, that don't work. You down here. Who did we say?
God.
No, y'all two said the same thing.
Who are
Jesus.
The least one of us. Who is the least? When you see that poor man or a little lady or a kid on the street, they need something. Even if you don't know, should you get them something?
Food.
Besides food, can you give them half of your dollar? You gotta think about that one, huh?
All of it.